What's up guys, my name is Ace, and I get asked quite often how I'm able to be so consistent with combat axes in Black Ops 3. And today I'm going to be sharing a drill with you that will help you guys improve your accuracy as well as your consistency with these combat axes. Let's get into it. Alright guys, so let's get into the setup of this drill. This is going to be in custom games, and yes, it is going to be against bots. I do realize that bots don't move exactly like other players, and there is no real replacement for simply playing against other players, but this is simply to improve your consistency, build your confidence as well in your abilities in like throwing your combat axes and getting the trajectory down and the timing as well as leading your target. Bots do not move the same way as players. I know that. I understand that. But let's get into here. For the map, I really like Stronghold. Simple reason I like Stronghold is it's not a super big map, and it's also got varied heights, and it's not all flat like Nuketown basically. If you play this on Nuketown, it's always going to be flat. You're almost always going to be in the exact same level as your enemies, and it just doesn't give you that much variety, and you don't get the same sort of practice. So this is why I really like Stronghold. Sometimes you're looking up, sometimes you're looking down. The terrain is never perfectly level or very rarely perfectly level, so that's why I chose this map in particular. As for game mode, we're going to go to free-for-all, and we want to change a few settings up. Time limit, score limit, I just set them to unlimited. You can set them to whatever you want. Like if you want to say, I want to get 100 kills with combat axe right now, then you can go to 100 kills. Or if you just want to do it for 10 minutes, just do it for 10 minutes. Just make sure you're changing those so it doesn't end super quickly at 30 kills or something. Another thing to change here is make your minimap sweeping. We don't want constant minimap because we don't want to be just staring at our minimap the whole time, but at the same time we want to be able to find our enemies fairly easily because they are just targets that we're practicing against. As for our bots, we want to set up 9 bots, and difficulty you can select for yourself. I recommend starting out on recruit because even recruit bots are going to end up killing you if you've got like 9 of them. I prefer 9. You can go more or less, you can basically tweak these to adjust the difficulty for yourself. I feel like 9 gives a nice balance of almost always having an enemy to kill, but not always getting completely overwhelmed. And like I was saying, recruit bots are a great way to start out. Keep in mind, these bots are just meant to be targets to practice on. Nothing more, just targets. You might want to go up to regular. I wouldn't get into the hardened or the veteran. It just wouldn't really give you that same rhythm and flow, and that's what you're really trying to build up, is that rhythm. You want to be hitting consecutive combat axe throws so that you build up that confidence in your abilities. So I would start it off at recruit. And that's pretty much it for the settings. As for the class that we want to use here, I recommend using a gun on your class. You don't have to use a gun, you can go with a combat axe only class, but the gun is just there. I'll explain it a little bit in a second here, but mainly it's there because in most situations with combat axes in a real game, you're going to be using a gun and the combat axe is just there like as a secondary. We're going to be using the combat axe as the primary, but we have that gun there to get that same sort of feel. So we have 2 combat axes. Obviously, we want some combat axes. I recommend just throwing flak jacket and tac mask on here, just so you don't have to deal with nades and stuns and stuff, just in case the bots happen to be using those. Scavenger, obviously we really want scavenger on this, and then fast hands if you plan on using fast hands. Personally, I use fast hands on everything, and it does affect the way that your combat axes will handle a little bit, so I would recommend using it if it's what you normally use. So that's our setup. Now that we have that all ready to go, we can just hop into a game, and I'll start explaining exactly what we're trying to do and why it works for me. Alright, so this drill is very straightforward. Just as you guessed, we're going to run around with our combat axes and get as many kills as possible with them. What I would like you to do though is mix up the types of situations you're getting in. Don't always try to get to those super close quarters combat axe kills, and don't always try to go for those Hail Mary cross map combat axes. Try and have that varied experience. Also, if you want, especially if you have like a scuff controller or something and you're usually jump shotting and stuff, try doing a couple jump shot combat axe kills. It's definitely a skill that can be practiced, and you want to be just getting into various situations so that you're practicing those different situations, because it's never going to be that one situation every single time where an enemy's sprinting straight at you or something like that, especially when you start playing against real players. So try to mix things up a little bit. Always try to use those combat axes. But having said that, if you throw both your combat axes, don't be afraid to use your gun just to get a kill so you can grab that scavenger pack and pick up another combat axe. There's nothing wrong with getting a gun kill while you're doing this drill. You might see me do it a couple times here. We basically just want to keep up that rhythm and flow as much as possible, because that's how you really practice that consistency, is by constantly getting these combat axe kills. And if you've got no combat axes in your inventory and you're right up close to an enemy, just kill him with your gun, pick up a scavenger pack, and you're back in the action with a combat axe ready to go. One thing to really pay attention to is when you have enemies moving laterally to you, make sure you're trying to play around with your different lead times. You want to be able to lead them properly at the right distance, as well as the speed that they're moving. This is something that you really need to practice as you're going through this, and it's something that really separates those people that sometimes hit combat axes to the people that are very, very consistent with their combat axe kills. Like I said, also, don't be afraid to go for a bit of a long bomb of a combat axe. I'm not talking the random, like, aim up in the sky and throw it. I mean, like, actually trying to aim it a little bit at your enemies. Also, if you're really struggling at first, take your time with the combat axe throw. Like, hold it in your hand, try and, like, line things up nicely, and then release it. Once you start getting better and you start to get a rhythm and a flow going, then you can speed things up a little bit. And you want to get to that point where, in a lot of situations at least, maybe not every single situation like the longer throws for instance, but in a lot of those more close quarters or mid-range situations, you want to be able to just tap that throw button and know that you're on target and you're going to be able to hit that combat axe. That way, when you transfer that into a real game against real players, they're going to have no idea what hit them because you'll be able to kill them so quickly. So this is pretty much it. We want to keep that repetition up, just keep killing your enemies with the combat axes, keep picking them up, and just approach different situations over and over and over again. Once you do this for hundreds or even thousands of kills, your consistency with combat axes will improve significantly when you transfer it over to real players, even though, like I said at the beginning, bots don't behave exactly like real players. You will have to make adjustments once you get into real games, but this does get you used to leading targets properly, as well as just simply hitting other players with combat axes. So there we have it. That's going to wrap it up for today's drill. Give it a go, see if it helps you improve with your consistency with combat axes. I'm willing to bet it definitely will help a lot of you guys out. Hope you guys enjoyed this one, and I'll talk to you guys next time.